One day, not long after that, his clerk tells him to buy a certain phone charger, and when he gets home, he finds that it perfectly fits the crime phone. He never charged that, did he? At some point in the past year or so, it had died when he hadn't been paying attention. After a few minutes, his clerk calls him over and he picks it up and turns it on. Within moments, notifications begin to pop up. Leader. Good evening, my fine friends. It has been long since our last conquest, but it seems time to once again try our luck in the endless game that is life. Vienna. Didn't almost all of us get arrested last time? Leader. A truer thing has never been said, my favorite teammate. However, the time has come that we have once again achieved freedom. Thus, it has come time for a new venture. Slingshot. Would it cost you like physical pain to not use an exclamation point? Leader. No, it would not. Pepper Cup. Leader, did you break out of prison? I thought you were going to be another 2 months. Leader. No, I did not. I got out early on good behavior because I kept giving other prisoners heartfelt and life-changing advice, which led to positive habits and happier lifestyles. I did this for very nefarious reasons, like fraud. Anyway, my new plan. That is the thing which we should talk about now. Slingshot. ... is... Pepper Cup. I think he's typing. Give him a minute. He has told me that the phone is too small for his thumbs. Leader. The plan is simple, but in that simplicity is complexity. There is a building which has been destroyed in a villain attack. Before it is completely demolished, we shall go through it for any valuable items. The relevant paperwork will be filled within a few weeks. We shall be stealing from directly beneath the heroes' noses. Slingshot. Is that even illegal if you have filled the paperwork to do it? Leader. Yes! Pepper Cup. You heard him. It's illegal. He would know. He is the criminal mastermind here. Leader. You flatter me. Continue. Pepper Cup. You have beautiful eyes. Leader. This has become too much and I must now leave. Slingshot. So, we are doing this? Izuku's quirk pushes him to answer. Sparky. I'm in. When he is 13, Izuku stands in front of another building. This one is an incredibly expensive mansion. It looks like something celebrities would live in. With the fake ID in his pocket and newly bought gardening gloves, Izuku walks through the front door. There is a man with a mustache and 2 hats who opens the door as soon as Izuku knocks. Oh, you are here to apply? He asks. Izuku nods, because that seems the thing to do. Thank you for coming. The man shakes Izuku's hand, then starts to give him a tour of the entryway and kitchen. My name is Konishi Kazuo, the man says. I'm the manager of the property. Mikumo Akatani, Izuku responds. For some reason, Izuku's quirk is pushing him to avoid the cameras, so he does. Eventually, Konishi takes Izuku to the backyard. Then sigh. I'm sure you're wondering where the owners of the house are, yes? Izuku is not, but nods anyway. They are currently on a vacation. That's where you come in. Konishi nervously looks at Izuku. You see, the master of the house made me swear that everything on the list he gave would be completed by the time they get back. The man conspiracially leans forward, grabbing Izuku by the shoulder. It's impossible, Konishi hisses. Really? Can I see the list? Izuku asks, wondering why he is here. Konishi shows Izuku a list, then shows him the lawn, the gardens, and the other gardens. Izuku starts to get it. Why don't you have another person to help you? Izuku asks. I did. I had a gardener that did all the landscaping, but she quit a few days ago. Konishi says miserably. Will you help me? Izuku stares at the huge lawn with the expensive and complicated-looking garden. He has worked with plants before. He's got near a whole rainforest of houseplants in his mom's apartment. This seems like something a little bit bigger than that. Of course, Izuku promises, shaking Konishi's hand. He spends a few hours pretending to know stuff about having a real job, then leaves after settling on a frankly ridiculous hourly pay. He passes the front gate and remembers to check the nameplate. Todoroki household. Sometime later, the leader of the group sends out the time and place of his proposed meeting. Within a moment, his quirk settles into his stomach, telling him to join them in the meeting. It leads him to get his makeup set, and he begins the now familiar routine of making his face look older with contour. He pauses in the mirror. He looks a few years older, maybe 16 or 17. He had dyed his hair black a few weeks ago and had used a bit of gel to style it away from his face. He smiles in a practiced way at his reflection. He looks clean-cut but harmless. He grabs a sturdy pair of shoes and leaves the apartment. He rides the bus to the address that the leader had texted. As he gets close, he sees the rubble that used to be a building. It had once been some office building, but now most of it had collapsed to the bottom floor. Out front of the building is a group of people casually chatting. As Izuku walks towards them, the tallest of the group waves enthusiastically. He has wild, pale hair and a wiry frame. The way he moves reminds Izuku of a hummingbird. "Good morning!" he shouts, though people are really not that far away from him. "I hope you are prepared for a productive day of villainy." Someone beside him gives him a smack on the back of the head, and another two glance around them in alarm. The woman who had smacked the one Izuku assumed to be leader looks similar to him, enough that Izuku suspects they are related. "Why would you do that to me?" Leader whines. "Because," the one who had smacked him says with a particular emphasis, "we are not doing anything illegal." She coughs and glances around. "We are a legal salvage party who will not be getting in trouble with the authorities today." "But, Seiko," the leader says slowly, "it is actually legal. I just kept saying it was illegal so more people would come help." You! Seiko makes a strangled noise and throws up her hands. "You have been insisting on this crime thing for weeks. You kept trying to convince me that it was really illegal. And lo and behold, you came to help." The leader answers cheerily. Seiko turns and walks away. "Alright," the leader says, after a few moments of silence. "Time for introductions." A few people glance around at each other. One man, tired-looking, with an air of easygoing amusement, raises his hand. "Yes, you!" the leader shouts happily. "I don't think giving one another our real name would be wise," he says evenly. "Perhaps we should exclusively use nicknames." "Ooh, code names," the leader says, fascinated. "I love it! I am leader with 3 exclamation points." "Are we using the names from the group chat?" the tired man asks, looking a little stricken. "Of course, anything else would be confusing," leader says. "Oh." The tired man spends a few moments seeming to master strength. "My name is Papercup, then." There's a few muffled coughs around the circle. Leader eyes Papercup with renewed interest. "And I'm Slingshot," the woman who leader had called Seiko said from just outside the circle. She had the same pale hair and tall frame as leader. Introductions continue around the circle in a similar vein. Some members of the group find themselves with more reasonable names than others. "I'm Sparky," Izuku says when it comes to his turn. There is a bit of silence when attention lands on him. Leader and Slingshot sense each other worry glances, and anxiety rises in Izuku's gut. But nothing comes of it, and introductions continue. Once introductions are done, leader begins going through the safety procedures of salvaging. For this process, he actually slows down and listens to questions. After safety vests and hard hats has been passed around, the group disperses around the site to begin the salvaging. It continues on for some time, the group carefully pulling apart parts of the building and prying loose anything that seemed valuable. Izuku finds that the process is unexpectedly fun. It's careful work. Each area that they explore needs to be first cleared as safe, then meticulously searched through for valuables. But the group is in high spirits, and Izuku finds himself joining in with the jokes and cheerful chatter as they start cleaning new areas of the building. They often send him to look through the new areas first, and the group gives him praise or congratulations each time he finds something else interesting. After a few hours, the safe parts of the building have all been cleared, and the group decides to call it. They stack everything that has been salvaged into the truck which leader has brought. The man himself runs to a nearby store and returns with drinks and snacks for the whole group. They sit together on the front steps of the building and enjoy the shade. The heat had grown intense during the hours they had spent working, and it's a relief to sit and enjoy the rest. Izuku finds himself with a juice box and a box of crackers. To his left is the man who has resigned himself to being called Peppercup. He is sipping a soda and lounging against the step. On the other side of him, leader is excitedly telling the group about the friends who he had made while fulfilling his community service hours. Apparently, one of them had been a fan of the same TV series as him, and they planned to visit some convention together. Izuku listens idly. Eventually, members of the group begin to leave, each thanking leader for his plan. Leader promises to contact them once he sells everything they have salvaged to pay them for the day. Once only a few members remain, Izuku decides that he should follow their lead and return home. "Thanks for the plan, leader," Izuku says, standing and stepping off the steps. "I really enjoyed the day." "It is none other than my duty as your leader," the man chirps, waving happily back at Izuku. "If I ever find myself in need of minions again," "Don't call them minions," Slingshot interrupts. "Helping hands for my nefarious deeds," leader continues. "Then I will be sure to call for your aid. Thank you for your help, my friend." "Of course. See you again sometime." Izuku smiles and waves as he continues on his way. He heads in the direction of the bus stop but has only gone a block before his hands begin to shake, and he stops to stare at them. His fingers shake, but the vines look worse. They are spasming around his fingers, growing and shifting in wild waves. Izuku feels a sense of nausea growing from his stomach, along with a deep sense of wrongness and a faint hiss of static in his ears. He winces and presses his hand against his eye, the hissing quickly growing louder. He manages a few more steps for it become too much, and he leans against a wall. His heart begins pounding and he glances around. The feeling rises up even more, and he takes an uneven breath. He watches the vines flicker across his hands. Then they completely stop. They are frozen on his skin, like a drawing or a tattoo, black with the slightest sheen of green. They are frozen as they were, jagged and fractured across his fingers. Something is wrong. Very wrong. Something about his quirk has shifted. It's something like pain, but deeper. The comforting presence in his chest is gone for the first time. There is an empty place in the pit of his stomach, and something like nausea is creeping onto his place. He glances up, and in front of him there is a man walking down the sidewalk. He has dark-tinted glasses and one of those white and red canes in his hand. He doesn't seem to notice Izuku, and he continues onward. But then, he raises his own hand to his face, like he is feeling something similar to Izuku. He stops, then seems unsure of what to do. "Ah," he says, tapping around him with the cane. "Hello? Is someone there?" Izuku thinks the man is talking to him. "Yes, something is..." Izuku trails off, not sure what he should say. There is a new anxiety building in his chest, something new and unsure that he has never felt before. "Oh," the man reaches to his left and lightly touches a fence. "You have some sort of future-seeing quirk, then?" Izuku jerks upright, mouth open. He leans backward again, mouth closing and opening. Yeah, I do," he managed eventually. "Why?" He had never said that to anyone before. He had let that secret lie for almost a decade now. "Ah, you're just a kid?" the man asked, nodding his head like anything here made sense. "Have you ever run into someone with a future-seeing quirk before?" Izuku shakes his head dumbly, then realized that the man is blind, and that was stupid. "No, I don't think so," Izuku managed. "Well, this is your first feedback then," the man says. "My quirk lets me see exactly 8 seconds into a future where I don't act." Izuku pauses, trying to figure out what this means. But the man continues. "Say I'm walking down the street." He gestures around. "My quirk tells me what the street will look like in 8 seconds if I don't take another step forward." Izuku doesn't quite get it. "Whatever details," the man waves his hand. "You've got some quirk that lets you see into the future. When two quirks that see the future interact, you get feedback." "Feedback?" "Like with audio. The two quirks will both be seeing and reacting to changes that the other one causes. This causes a loop where both quirks are continually affecting the result of each other. Eventually, both quirk users can't see anything with their quirks." The man shrugs. "What happens?" Izuku asks, anxiety rising. "Oh, nothing, just some temporary inconvenience." The man gestures at his glasses. "Particularly for me, since I can only see things which happen in the future. If you're around for a while like me, these things can happen a lot." Izuku tightens his hand around his waist. "Oh," he glances around. "What do we do?" "Well," the man says, "one of us needs to walk away until the feedback stops. It might last for a while, but it's not permanent." "Oh, oh!" Izuku jumps to his feet. "Yes, of course, thank you for your help. Sorry for the inconvenience." He bows. He doesn't really know what he's supposed to do, but it feels better than nothing. "No problem, take care out there," the man replies, still likely holding the kid. Izuku returns the way he had come at a fast pace, glancing behind him. Once he is a block away, Izuku sits down and stares at his hands. The vines are moving, just barely. They are still splayed and awkward, nothing like their normal graceful sprawling, but they are slowly moving across his skin. He can feel just the slightest pressure of his quirk in his chest. It's not quite comforting. It's not leading him like it always does. It's just there, like it's sleeping or something. He looks back. The man has continued on his way. Izuku waves. After a pause that Izuku suspects is exactly 8 seconds, the man waves back, then turns a corner. Izuku can feel his quirk, but he still feels anxiety. It feels slow and disconnected, like it doesn't quite know what's going on yet. He sits down on a set of stairs and presses his face into his knees. He stays like that for a while. "Hey, Sparky!" Izuku jerks his head up. He blinks. The sun is beginning to set, but the sky is still bright. In front of him are Leader and Slingshot. "Oh," Izuku says, feeling a bit slow. "What's going on, Get?" Izuku Slingshot asks. Her voice is flat but not unkind. I, Izuku feels something unfamiliar. Indecision. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do. He glances down at his hand. They give him nothing. He wants help though. He wants someone to understand and tells him what he should do. I had some trouble with my quirk, he says. He feels like he's stepping off a cliff. Your quirk? Leader asks. Yeah, Izuku pauses. Foresight. Foresight? Slingshot glances at him searchingly. I thought it was something with fire. Izuku shakes his head dumbly. He swallows. I lied about my quirk. The words feel strange. Leader pauses. He seems like he's buzzing with energy, but doesn't know which direction to move with it. He sits down next to Izuku. Slingshot glances around, shrugs, and sits on Izuku's other side. Why did you lie? Leader asks, voice sounding understanding, but a little hurt. It's not an easy quirk to explain, I guess. Izuku hugs his knees, looking down at the concrete in front of him. I don't tell most people. His quirk isn't guiding him for once. It's just settling around his hands, not telling him to talk, but not pushing him to stop. Just there, present, but still. Well, would you try? Slingshot tries. It tells me things that I need, or things I need to do. Izuku starts. Sometimes it's simple, like I always grab an umbrella when it's going to rain, or I have an extra pencil when someone else needs to borrow one, like my quirk knows everything I need. That sounds useful, Izuku's Slingshot says. Her tone is reserved. Yeah, but sometimes the things that it asks me to do are just, they just don't make sense. Sometimes things that I do only make sense months into the future. For years, I've just been doing these things because my quirk has never led me into trouble. Izuku pauses, not sure what else it would be right to explain here. You said you're having trouble with your quirk? Leader prompts. Izuku glances at him. Well, it's just that I've learned something called feedback. I was walking down the street and I ran into someone who also had a quirk that let him see into the future and... Leader interrupts. Feedback. You know about it? Izuku asks. You know something? Slingshot asks at the same time. Leader waves his hand dismissively. Yeah, it was at school. This kid Tamakikin had this quirk when he knew what the weather would be, and there was this other kid who could tell which way a coin would land. Leader was gesturing wildly as he talked. One time, I was talking to Tamakikin and the other kid walked by, and they both flipped out. So we had a whole thing where we got the kid to try and tell how a coin would land. He couldn't do it and got really mad, and they started chasing Tamakikin. And I couldn't stand it, so I started chasing the kid. Then the teachers were called, and I ended up getting detention, which is where I met this other kid called... Slingshot interrupts him by flicking a pebble at his knee with remarkable accuracy. We don't need your whole life story, she says. Oh, yeah, right. So anyway, yeah, feedback, it's like a whole thing. Oh, Izuku says. I'd never heard about it. Wow, kid, Slingshot says with a whistle. That must have been a shock then. Glad that it didn't turn out too bad. Yeah, Izuku says. Something about the whole conversation has settled him. It was really... I've never had my quirk cut out before. It will come back, I think, but I just... He shrugs, not sure what he wants to say. Leader stands then. Well, all's well that ends well. Glad to hear that you're feeling better. Slingshot sends him a look. You want a ride home, kid? She asks. She stands up and offers Izuku a hand up. He takes it. The offered ride is cramped. They are in a truck that Leader, or Izuku suspects, actually Slingshot, had rented to hold back the salvage they have collected earlier today. Slingshot drives carefully through the cramped streets. Leader sits in the middle, filling the silence with his seemingly infinite numbers of stories. Most of them ended in him being in trouble with one authority figure or another. Izuku sits in the passenger seat, feeling light and relaxed in a way he hadn't before. He thinks it will be alright. It takes the better part of a day for his quirk to be back to normal. The next afternoon, as he's watering his plants, he finally gets a clear impulse. His hands twitch away from the plant he has been watering, and he holds his breath for a second. His quirk pushes him to store away the water spout and bring out a pair of clippers. He prunes a few new shoots of his golden child ivy. Once that's done, he watches as his vines retract back into the pair of freckles on his wrist. They settle down, a deep and comforting feeling. The wave of relief is so strong that Izuku needs to sit down for a few minutes. That is the end of chapter 1 of Foresight. Thank you.